Folks, $5,000 can be claimed right now by many Americans. Negotiations are beginning on boosted cash payments that would actually help provide financial aid to many low-income households. Here is the latest news on another round of stimulus checks. The Alaska Senate approved a state spending package, and that includes spending cash payments of $5,500 for people in Alaska. The package includes dividends of about $4,200 to residents this year, as well as energy relief. These energy relief checks are about $1,300. The vote in Alaska comes as a number of other states are considering sending more direct payments to their residents as Americans continue to grapple with record high inflation and rising gas prices, driven by the crisis. The package passed 15-5 and was sent to the House, and it will be decided whether to agree with the Senate version. The House approved a version of the budget last month, and that included a dividend of roughly $1,250 and a $1,300 energy check. Lawmakers in recent years have been divided over the size of the dividend, traditionally paid with earnings from the state oil's wealth fund, known as the Alaska Permanent Fund. During a debate on the budget, the Senate voted 10-9 in support of a dividend of about $4,200. The cost for the size dividend would be nearly $2.8 billion, while the cost of the proposed energy payment is estimated at $840 million. Supporters of the Senate budget argued that Alaskans could use the financial help, while critics raised concerns about the possible fiscal consequences. The Alaska House Speaker was critical of conservative lawmakers in the state Senate for voting for a budget that could dip deeply into the state's savings. And also, everybody, over 300,000 low-income essential workers across Massachusetts will begin receiving their second round of stimulus checks this week. The $500 payment is scheduled to be mailed out starting Monday as part of the Baker's administration crisis employee premium program. The first set of these payments were announced in February and distributed to around 480,000 people in March. This round offers another $165 million in relief funding to an estimated 330,000 eligible residents in June. Eligibility is based on Massachusetts tax returns for 2021. To qualify, you have had to make at least $13,000 and seen the total income at or below 300% of the federal poverty level. For a household of one person, that level was around $38,000. For a family of four, that would be up to $79,000. Those who received the payment in the first round or who received unemployment benefits in 2021 are not eligible for this, however. Massachusetts executive branch employees who received a one-time crisis-related payment from the state are also ineligible. The first round of payments was determined by 2020 state tax returns and followed similar criteria. Now, while there was much talk about a pending recession as the Federal Reserve takes steps to tamp down high inflation, recent reports on the health of the economy show cooling but still going strong. This is good news for the White House as the American public becomes increasingly concerned. Amid rising inflation and high gas prices, federal legislation that provide Americans with a fourth economic payment remains stalled in Congress. Democratic Representative Mike Thompson announced that he was introducing new legislation that would send eligible Americans energy rebate checks, titled the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. The legislation, which was co-sponsored by Representatives Larson and Underwood, came amid rising gas prices in the United States. Thompson sent a statement announcing the legislation. Americans are feeling the impact at the pump of the crisis, and right now we must work together. Folks, do you believe that President Biden should do more for the stimulus checks and the American people? Tell me what you think in the comments.
Taxes go up by 1 penny. So the overwhelming majority of the American people would not see any increase in their taxes under this proposal. The tax increase in our legislation only applies to the wealthiest 6.4% of all Americans, those who make $250,000 a year or more. Further and importantly, under this bill, Social Security benefits would be increased by $2,400 a year for both new and existing recipients, lifting millions of seniors out of poverty. In addition, under this bill, we would increase COLAs for senior citizens by more accurately measuring the spending pattern for senior citizens through the Consumer Price Index for the elderly. Now, one of the reasons that I called
stimulus checks are being discussed by a large group of lawmakers in Congress. Many people want to include an extra $100 stimulus check into the relief package. Janet Yellen has also confirmed that the fourth stimulus package is not going to affect inflation, and so that's good news for all of us. That's good news for the many people that need stimulus checks. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen defended the Biden administration's 2021 stimulus package against criticism that it is blamed for high inflation. Yellen told lawmakers during a hearing that the House Ways and Means Committee that the American Rescue Plan, signed into law, has contributed only modestly to high prices. Yellen said, "I had to think about what the situation, especially for low-income families, would be without the help provided by the American Rescue Plan." Yellen did acknowledge the pain caused by inflation and regular gas prices. Yellen said that gas prices are an enormous problem, it's an enormous burden on American households, and we need to do everything we can to address that. Yellen downplayed the inflationary impact of the stimulus package, pointing instead to the economy's miraculously rapid recovery. She said the success of the policy adopted is that we have an economy with the strongest labor market, arguably in the post-war period. Yellen also fielded questions on ways the Biden administration is addressing the historically high inflation, in particular a review of some of the tariffs imposed by the former president. She said that lifting some of those tariffs could help bring down prices, but cannot be viewed as a solution to help America's inflation problem. Some reductions may be warranted, Yellen told lawmakers. It could help to bring down the price of things that people buy that are burdensome. And I want to make it clear, I honestly don't think tariff policy is a way to respect inflation. Still, Yellen said that the Biden administration is reviewing its tariff policy, and changes may take place in the coming weeks. Knowing that officials are taking a look at tariffs that may be hurting consumers and whether they can reconfigure those tariffs in a way that would make it more strategic. According to a new poll, Biden's approval rating among Americans has hit an all-time low. The poll published found that 50% of those surveyed disapprove of Biden's performance, while 39% of respondents approve. 80% of respondents who are registered Republicans strongly disapprove of President Biden's job as president, and 30% of respondents who are registered Democrats approve of his handling. Overall, 80% of Democrats said they approve that Biden is doing a good job as president. And there has been tax rebates sent out to citizens in the state of Idaho, United States, with these being issued to those individuals who were full-year Idaho residents for 2020 and 2021, and filed income returns for those 2 years. When it comes to the money that Idaho that residents can receive, there is a $75 for each taxpayer and each dependent, or 12% of the 2020 taxes, whichever amount is bigger. That is what you will receive from the Idaho State Tax Commission. The way the Tax Commission is issuing the tax rebates is by sending them out in order that they have received individuals' 2021 income tax returns, beginning with any taxpayers who are eligible to receive a tax refund. It is expected there will be roughly 25,000 rebate payments that go out on a weekly basis. Folks, do you think that President Biden can do all that it takes to send the fourth stimulus check? Tell me what you think in the comments below.
Now, on an entirely different matter, Washington Democrats' inflation is slamming consumers with the highest prices in 40 years. One of the toughest blows has been the soaring cost of a trip to the gas pump. A gallon of regular costs a full $1 more today than it did a year ago. So after triggering an historic run of inflation and hammering American producers with anti-energy policies designed to restrict supply, our Democratic colleagues are suddenly talking about gas prices. And there's a bold, creative plan, temporarily suspending the gas tax to the tune of 18 cents. Oh, and excluding